Welcome back to Bytes of Pi. This video series, we're going to go over the Java APCS 2021 exam. The code that we'll go over, including the runners and the final examples that I have, will be out in GitHub. I'll provide a link for that in the description below, along with a link to the APCS released exam. So feel free to download the PDF for the exam and the code and follow along with me. Pause the video at any time as you walk through it. We'll go through the other questions in future videos. For right now, we'll get to question 1. Let's dive into it. Let's scroll down. Question number 1. We're going to work with this word guessing game. Well, we've seen this in other APCS examples and practice exams where we have like a secret and then we're going to need to be able to guess that secret. And this is very close to that. We're going to have this class called WordMatch where we take in a secret, and we're going to have two functions, a scoreGuess where we'll enter in a guess and print out a score, and then we're going to have another function in part B for finding a better guess. Let's go to part A first. We're going to work on the method scoreGuess. To determine this, we're going to take in a guess and we're going to calculate some sort of score. So given this example here below, for a given secret of Mississippi, if I guessed I, I'm going to find I in Mississippi 4 times, and this function will return is that times the length of that string. So I is only a length of 1, so we found it 4 times, so 4 times 1 times 1 again will equal 4, and that's what the value will be returned. Now, the guess of ISS is 3 characters long, and it's found twice. We find it right here and right here. So we multiply the times it's found times the length of the guess times the length of the guess again, which results in 18. And we'll continue to do that. You can see that for Mississippi and Mississippi, how those values are calculated. It's not a fair score per se, but this is the scoring that this particular example has. So let's head on over to the code. So I have this out in a GitHub. I have question runners for each of the questions, and I will have all the kind of framed classes that we'll need all proofed out. So all you'll need to do is go into the actual code like this and implement the values. So I'm going to start off here, return, so I don't get these errors. I'm just going to return a generic 0 to start off with. So we need to keep track of 3 different things in this first part. We're going to need to keep track of the length. I like to do this just to keep things clean. Int len equals secret. Well, actually, not secret. We want guess length because we're going to multiply that there at the end. All right. We're going to need a counter. We're going to need to be able to count how many times we find this in the string. So int count equals 0. And lastly, I'm going to want to keep track of the position in the secret where we find the string. So int start equals 0. All right. So I've got 3 things. Now, to me, I'm going to need to be able to keep track a pointer, and that's what we have this start pointer. I'm going to have a secret, take my guess, and find it the first time it hits in this string. Once I do that, I want to be able to point to that, which is what our start variable is, and then starting at that point, starting at that point plus 1, looking for another hit. We don't want to start at that same point because we'll just keep finding it over and over again and we'll never get out. So to me, this kind of lends itself to a while loop. So we'll want to keep going while start is greater than or equal to 0. I'm going to use the string index of, because that finds an instance of a string within a string. And if instance of can't find any values, it'll be a -1. So while this is not as bigger than -1, it tells me the position in the string, I want to keep going. And I also maybe want to put a safe point. I want to keep bounds. So what if I'm at the end and I want to go further? Well, I'll get it out of bounds. I don't want that. So to protect myself, I'm going to also check for start is less than the secret length. Whoop, not last index of dot length. Okay. So now that I've got my bounds here, let's get started. So let's set start to the first time we find it. So start equals secret dot index of. Okay, so we want to do our guess, which is guess, starting at the position of start. So we're starting at 0, and we'll keep moving start as we find these things. All right. If start is greater than or equal to 0, that means if we found it, it's not -1, we'll want to do two things. We want to increment the counter. So we found it. We want to increment that. So count plus plus. And we're right there. So we don't want to keep starting. When we go back through the loop, we don't want to keep starting here because we'll keep finding it over and over again. So I want to bump that pointer up to the next position. So start plus plus, knowing that, you know, we have this second piece to keep us from going out beyond the bounds. All right, so we've got the structure of the loop, we've got the counter. Lastly, we're going to have to return the actual value. So if we go back to our PDF, we'll see again, I'll want to do the times I found it, which is length. So that would be, or sorry, count. So we found it this many times, times the length, times the length again. All right, that seems to do it for this part. We'll check it at the end of this video. Let's move on to the second part of it, which is findBetterGuess. So now that we've implemented scoreGuess, we're going to findBetterGuess is going to take in two guesses, this guess and this guess. So once I have these two guesses, I'll take whichever has the better score. So I'm going to use, if scoreGuess is 10, you know, if this value for 10 gives me 9 and this value for nation gives me 36, then I'll know that 36 is higher than 10, so I'm going to return nation, saying this is your better guess. Now, in this case, when I put two guesses and they have the same, I'm going to return the alphabetical larger one. So whenever I have a tie, I'm going to return something that's alphabetically higher, like con. So O is bigger than A, hence it'll return con. So let's take a stab at this and findBetterGuess. All right. Now we know that we know that strings are comparable, so comparables may help us in the future. But let's do the easy part. Let's keep track of the score. So int score1 equals scoreGuess for guess 1. Okay, so we're just going to grab the score for guess 1, since we've already done that, and we'll want to grab the score for score 2. Oop, score 2. All right, so now a simple if statement. If score 1 is greater than score 2, we'll want to return score 1 because score 1 had the guess 1 had the higher one. Return guess 1. Okay. Now let's do the same thing for guess 2. Now, so if score 2 is greater than score 1, we'll want to return guess 2 because that has the higher score. Guess 2. Now we didn't just return everything. We didn't just return whatever, because what happens if they're the same? So that final case where they have the same one, we can use the comparable. So lastly, let's compare guess 1 to guess 2. So if you remember the comparable, compare to guess 2. All right, so we have a guess, and if guess is bigger than guess 2, if guess 1 is bigger than guess 2, it'll be a positive number. If guess 1 is less than guess 2, it'll be a negative number. And if they're the same thing, it'll just return the same thing, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's just say if guess 1 is compare to is greater than 0, that means guess 1 is greater. So I'm going to use a ternary operator, guess 1, otherwise return guess 2. Now you may not be familiar with the ternary, but it's basically an if statement, but really compact. I have a condition, and if it's true, return the value of that statement is this. If it's false, the value of the statement is that. So it's a nice little compact and clean way to do that. So now that I've got both of my functions set up, let me save this, and let's use the question runner. So here I have my question runner where I'm running part A and part B. So in part A, I have taken the examples in the PDF and run through all the guesses. Let me switch back to the split screen. So I've taken the table examples and printed them out, so you can see. Let's print out what the guess of I is: IIS and Mississippi, and the same thing for the A's. And for print 2, the guesses we had was for concatenation, where we compare 10 and nation, and we compare con and cat. So let's run this and see what happens. Okay. All right. So let's take a look. Let me move back. And let's take a look at what we have as the results. So it matches. Actually, I should probably match it back to the results. Let me switch back again. So here, in the first set, we can see 4, 18, 36, and 121. 4, 18, 36, and 121. And for the A's, we have 4, 12, 18, 16, and 0. 4, 12, 18, 16, 0. All right, so that looks good. Now let's check the second part. The second part, where we have, whoops, I went way too far. All right, so we have score guess of 10 is 9. Score guess of nation is 36, and the best is nation. Okay, so that plays out with these values. And then con is 9, cat is 9. Con and 9 is cat, and cat is 9. And the best is con. Okay, looks like we have a good solution. This concludes the first part of APCS 2021 exam. Thanks for watching.